Jake Morrison walked through the long hallway of the Galaxy Council building. His shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were made of some kind of blue crystal that the aliens loved to use. It was supposed to look impressive, but Jake was tired of seeing it every day for the past 5 years. He was Earth's main speaker at the Galaxy Council. It was supposed to be an honor, but most days it felt like a punishment. The other alien races treated humans like they were children who didn't know anything. They made all the big decisions without asking what Earth wanted. Today was going to be worse than usual. Jake knew what the meeting was about. The Council was going to take away Earth's rights to mine in the Kepler system. Humans had found those planets first. They had built the mining stations. They had done all the work. But now the Veltroni wanted those planets, and the Council always gave the Veltroni what they wanted. Jake reached the big meeting room. The door was huge, at least 20 feet tall. Everything the aliens built was too big for humans. It was like they wanted to remind people how small Earth was compared to them. Inside the room, 12 different alien species sat in their special chairs. Each chair was made for their body type. The Draconians had chairs that could hold their big reptile bodies. The Altarians needed chairs that worked with their 4 arms. The humans got a plain metal chair that was too small. Prime Counselor Zexathara was already talking when Jake sat down. She was from the Crystalline Empire, and her body looked like it was made of moving glass. Her voice came through a machine that changed her words into English. "The matter before us today is simple," she said. "The Kepler system has become a source of conflict. The Veltroni Collective has greater need for these resources than the humans do." Jake stood up. "With respect, Prime Counselor, humans discovered the Kepler system. We built all the mining equipment there. We have invested 30 years of work in those planets." A low rumbling sound came from the Draconian section. That was their way of laughing. General Crix, their leader, spoke next. "Humans always talk about their work. But what have you really done? You use our FTL drives to get to those planets. You use our shield technology to protect your miners. You use our medical technology to keep your people alive. Everything you got from us." Jake felt his face get hot with anger, but he kept his voice calm. "We have paid for every piece of technology we use. We have followed every rule the Council made. We have never broken any agreement." "That is true," said Veltar from the Altarian Trade Group. "But humans are still a young race. You don't understand how to use resources properly. The Veltroni have been mining for thousands of years. They will make better use of the Kepler system." Jake looked around the room. Every alien face showed the same thing. They had already decided. This meeting was just for show. Earth's opinion didn't matter at all. "I call for a vote," said Prime Counselor Zexathara. One by one, each alien group voted yes. They voted to take away Earth's mining rights. They voted to give everything humans had built to the Veltroni. Jake was the only one who voted no, but one vote meant nothing against 12. "The motion passes," announced the Prime Counselor. "The Veltroni Collective will take control of all human operations in the Kepler system within 30 days. Humans will be compensated for their equipment at fair market value." Jake knew what fair market value meant. It meant Earth would get almost nothing for 30 years of work. The aliens would decide what their equipment was worth, and humans would have to accept it. After the meeting ended, Jake walked slowly back to his office. It was a small room in the basement of the Council building. Even the janitors got better offices than Earth's main representative. He sat at his desk and opened his secure communication device. For 5 years he had hoped this day would never come, but Earth's leaders had known it might happen. They had made plans just in case. Jake typed in a special code that only 5 people on Earth knew. Then he wrote a very short message. "Protocol 7 is authorized. Execute immediately." He sent the message and then deleted it from his device. Within seconds, the message would reach Earth through the quantum communication network. Defense Secretary Lisa Parker would get it first. Then she would send out the orders that would change everything. Jake looked out his small window at the alien city below. Thousands of different species lived and worked together in the capital of the Galaxy Council. They all thought they were so much better than humans. They thought Earth needed them to survive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Earth, Lisa Parker was in her office in Washington when the message came through. She had been Defense Secretary for 8 years, but she had been working on Protocol 7 for much longer. It was humanity's biggest secret. Not even most of Earth's leaders knew about it. She opened her secure safe and took out a red folder. Inside were orders that would go to every human colony, every space station, every military base, and every research center. The orders were simple but would shake the entire galaxy. Lisa picked up her secure phone and called Admiral Grace Sullivan, who was commanding the human fleet near the Jupiter shipyards. "Grace, it's Lisa. Protocol 7 is active. Begin Phase 1 immediately." "Understood," came the reply. "How long do we have?" 72 hours for full withdrawal. After that, we go dark." "Copy that. Grace out." Lisa hung up and opened her computer. She began sending coded messages to human leaders across the galaxy. Each message looked like normal government business, but hidden inside were the real orders. Dr. Amy Collins got her message while working late in her laboratory on Titan. She was the head of humanity's most secret research project. For 15 years, she had been developing technology that would make Earth independent from alien science. The other species thought humans just copied their designs, but Amy knew better. Human engineers had been improving alien technology in ways the aliens never imagined. Amy looked at her life's work, spread across dozens of laboratories. Faster engines, better weapons, stronger shields, and most important of all, completely new ways to travel between stars. The aliens thought they were so advanced, but human science had quietly moved far beyond what any of them could do. She began entering commands into her computer. Within hours, every piece of research, every prototype, every bit of data would be packed up and shipped to secret locations that no alien knew about. Captain Ryan Tucker was eating dinner on his cargo ship when his orders came through. He commanded the largest civilian transport fleet in human space. His ships looked like normal cargo vessels, but they had been secretly modified for a very different purpose. Ryan called his crew together. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we trained for. Operation Exodus begins now. All ships are to proceed to their assigned pickup points. We have 48 hours to complete the largest evacuation in human history." Across human space, the same scene was playing out. Military officers opened sealed orders. Scientists began packing their most important research. Factory workers started shutting down production lines. Colonists were told to pack only what they could carry. But this wasn't panic. This was a plan that had been 30 years in the making. Earth had learned not to trust the Galaxy Council, so they had prepared for the day when trust finally broke down completely. The Great Withdrawal had begun, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to hit them. Captain Ryan Tucker stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the biggest movement of people in human history. Through his window, he could see hundreds of other ships doing the same thing his crew was doing. They were picking up every human, from every world, every space station, every research base in the galaxy. The operation was going perfectly. Too perfectly, Ryan thought. For 30 years, humans had been planning for this day. They had built extra ships and hidden them in places where aliens never looked. They had trained crews for evacuation missions. They had even practiced this exact situation dozens of times in secret. "Captain, we have the last group from Mining Station 7, reported his second officer, Lisa Chen. "That's everyone from the asteroid belt." "Good work. Set course for Rally Point Alpha. How are the other groups doing?" Lisa checked her screen. "Factory ships report they've cleared all the industrial worlds. Research vessels have picked up every scientist from the outer rim. Even the diplomatic staff are on their way out." Ryan nodded. The aliens thought humans were just running away in fear, but they were wrong. This was the most organized withdrawal in galactic history. Every human knew exactly where to go and what to do. On the planet New Detroit, factory administrator Carl Johnson walked through his empty factories. Just 2 days ago, these buildings had been full of workers making everything, from computer parts to spaceship engines. The aliens had always said human factories were too loud and too dirty, but they had been happy to buy everything humans made. Carl's team had worked for 60 straight hours to pack up everything important. Every machine, every blueprint, every piece of technology was being loaded onto transport ships. What they couldn't take, they destroyed. The aliens would find empty buildings, but they wouldn't find anything useful inside them. "Boss, that's the last of the manufacturing equipment," said his assistant Tony Martinez. "The demolition team is ready to blow the power plant." "Do it," Carl said. "Make sure nothing works when we leave." The power plant exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from space. Similar explosions were happening on 47 different worlds as humans made sure they left nothing behind for the aliens to use. Dr. Amy Collins was having the best day of her career. For 15 years, she had been working on secret projects that would free humanity from alien technology. The aliens thought they were so smart, but Amy had been making their technology better without them knowing it. Her laboratory on Titan was being packed up by her research team. Every computer, every prototype, every bit of data was going with them to their new home. But the most important things were already safely hidden in places the aliens would never find. "Dr. Collins, the quantum drive prototypes are secured," reported her assistant Kevin Walsh. "The new FTL engines are ready for transport too." Amy smiled. The aliens had no idea that humans had developed faster than light travel that was better than anything in the galaxy. The new engines could go twice as fast as alien ships and use half the energy. Soon, humans wouldn't need alien technology at all. "What about the shield generators?" Amy asked. "Already gone. The new defensive systems are 3 times stronger than anything the Draconians have." Amy looked around her empty laboratory. She had spent the best years of her life in this room, but she wasn't sad to leave. They were going somewhere better, somewhere the aliens couldn't bother them anymore. Senator Kate Davis was in her office, on Earth, writing the last message humanity would send to the Galaxy Council. She had been a diplomat for 20 years, always trying to make peace with the aliens. But diplomacy only worked when both sides wanted peace. She finished typing and read the message one more time. It was polite, but firm. Humans were leaving, and they weren't coming back. The galaxy had made its choice, and now humans were making theirs. Kate sent the message to every alien government, every news service, and every communication network in the galaxy. Within hours, every intelligent being in known space would know that humanity was done with the Galaxy Council forever. Intelligence Chief Maya Roberts watched everything from her secret base in the Oort cloud. Her job was to make sure the aliens didn't try to stop the human evacuation. So far, the aliens were too surprised to do anything. Maya's screen showed alien ships trying to follow human transports, but the humans were too fast. The aliens were sending messages asking humans to stop and talk, but no one was answering. Some alien governments were even offering to change the laws that had made humans so angry, but it was too late for that. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from all sectors," said her aide, Brian Stone. "The evacuation is 90% complete. Only a few small groups are still being picked up." "What about alien response?" Maya asked. "Confusion mostly. They're sending messages to each other trying to figure out what's happening. A few military ships are moving toward human space, but they're not fast enough to catch our transports." Maya nodded. The aliens had always thought they were faster and stronger than humans, but they had never bothered to find out if that was still true. Human technology had improved a lot in 30 years, even if the aliens hadn't noticed. Commander Eric Stone was leading the last military group out of human space. His job was to make sure no alien ships followed the evacuation fleet to their new home. He had 20 of humanity's newest warships, and they were nothing like what the aliens expected. "Sir, 3 Draconian cruisers are trying to intercept Transport Group 7, reported his weapons officer. "Show them why that's a bad idea," Eric said calmly. The human warships moved faster than the Draconians thought possible. In seconds, they were between the alien cruisers and the transport ships. The Draconians tried to scan the human vessels, but their sensors couldn't penetrate the new human shield technology. "This is Commander Stone to Draconian vessels. Turn around and go home. This is your only warning." The Draconian commander sent back an angry message about humans breaking galactic law, But Eric wasn't interested in legal arguments. When the alien ships kept coming, he ordered his weapons powered up. The Draconian sensors finally detected the massive energy buildup and they quickly turned around. Dr. Nathan Price was one of the last humans to leave the galaxy. His job was to make sure the aliens found nothing useful in the abandoned human facilities. He had teams of experts going through every building, every laboratory, every office that humans had ever used. Dr. Price, the cleanup is complete, reported his team leader Carol Adams. Every computer has been wiped clean. Every research file has been destroyed. Even the trash has been incinerated. Nathan looked at the empty research station where he had worked for 10 years. The aliens would find a perfectly good building with electricity, water, and air, but they wouldn't find a single piece of human knowledge inside it. Good work, everyone. Time to go home. But home wasn't Earth anymore. Home was somewhere new, somewhere the aliens had never been, somewhere humans could build their own civilization without anyone telling them what to do. As the last human ships left the galaxy, they left behind empty worlds and confused aliens. In 72 hours, humanity had vanished completely from galactic civilization. No one had ever seen anything like it. The silent exodus was complete. Now the real fun would begin when the aliens realized what they had lost. Prime Counselor Zexthara had never felt panic before. Her crystalline body was shaking as she read the emergency reports coming in from across the galaxy. In just 1 week since the humans had disappeared, everything was falling apart. The first problem started with the hyperspace beacons. These were the devices that helped ships travel safely between stars. Without them, ships could get lost in space forever. The humans had been maintaining most of these beacons for the past 20 years, and now they were all breaking down at the same time. "Counselor, we have another distress call," said her aide, a nervous Altarian named Vector. 3 cargo ships are stranded in the Omega sector. Their navigation systems failed when the beacon went dark. Zexthara felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. How many ships are stranded now? Over 200, and the number is growing every hour. The emergency council meeting was chaos. 12 different alien species were all talking at once, and none of them had any good news to share. General Crix of the Draconians was the angriest. His scales were dark red, which meant he was ready to fight someone. "Where are the humans? We demand they return immediately and fix what they broke." "They didn't break anything," said Trade Minister Veltar quietly. "We just didn't realize. They were the ones keeping everything working." That made everyone in the room very uncomfortable. For 30 years, the aliens had treated humans like they were stupid and couldn't do anything important. Now they were learning that humans had been doing the most important jobs in the galaxy. Dr. Silandra from the Scientific Union had the worst news of all. "I've been studying the abandoned human facilities. They took everything with them. Every computer, every tool, every piece of research. What they couldn't take, they destroyed completely." "What about their backup files?" asked Counselor Mordeth. "Gone. They wiped every storage device clean. It's like they never existed, except for the empty buildings they left behind." The room fell silent. Everyone was starting to understand how much trouble they were in. Veltar was studying economic reports when he discovered something that made his 4 hearts skip beats. The numbers were terrible, worse than anything he had ever seen. "Counselor Zexthara, I need to speak to the council immediately," he said, his voice shaking. An hour later, Veltar stood before the emergency assembly with charts and graphs that painted a picture of complete disaster. "The human withdrawal has destroyed our economy," he began. 40% of all galactic trade depended on human-maintained shipping routes. 60% of our manufacturing used human-designed systems. 70% of our energy production relied on human-improved technology. The numbers got worse and worse. The Altarian Shipping Company had lost half their fleet to navigation failures. The Crystalline Energy Consortium couldn't produce power without human technical support. Even the mighty Draconian military was having problems with their newest warships. "How is this possible?" demanded General Crix. "Humans are a primitive species. They've only been in space for 200 years. Veltar pulled up more data. "That's what we thought. But we were wrong. Look at these maintenance records. Humans weren't just copying our technology, they were improving it. Every system they touched became more efficient, more reliable, more powerful. The evidence was overwhelming. The faster-than-light engines that everyone used, humans had made them 30% more efficient. The defensive shields protecting major worlds, humans had improved their power output by half. The communication networks that connected the galaxy, built on human-designed protocols that no one else understood. Intelligence officer Zarqueth had spent 3 days trying to track down where the humans had gone. It should have been easy. Humans had big ships and they needed supplies. Someone should have seen them leaving, but there was nothing. No sensor contacts, no fuel purchases, no communication intercepts. The entire human species had simply vanished without leaving any clues behind. It's impossible, Zarqueth reported to the council. You can't hide millions of people and thousands of ships. But somehow that's exactly what they did. What made it worse was that some alien governments were starting to panic. The Centauri Republic had declared a state of emergency when their main power grid failed. The Rigel Federation was rationing food because their cargo ships couldn't navigate safely between their worlds. Maya Roberts watched all of this from her hidden base in the void. Her job was to monitor alien communications and make sure they didn't find humanity's new home. She was enjoying every minute of it. Ma'am, the Draconians are offering a reward of 1 billion credits for information about human locations, reported her communications officer, Steve Parker. Let me guess, Maya said with a smile. No one is claiming the reward? That's right. And the reward keeps getting bigger. They're up to 5 billion now. Maya laughed. The aliens could offer all the money in the galaxy, but it wouldn't help them. Humans had planned their disappearance perfectly. They were now living in a part of space that no alien species had ever explored, using technology that was better than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Dan Mitchell was leading a patrol near the old human territories when he got the most interesting assignment of his career. His orders were simple. Watch the aliens and see how badly they were handling the crisis. What he saw was better than he had hoped. Alien rescue ships were getting lost trying to find their own stranded vessels. Military patrols were running out of fuel because they couldn't navigate efficiently. Even the proud Draconian Empire was having to ask other species for help. Commander, we're intercepting alien communications, reported his sensor operator, Julie Ross. They're begging anyone who will listen to help them fix their infrastructure. Dan shook his head in amazement. For 30 years, these same aliens had treated humans like they were too stupid to have opinions. They had voted against every human proposal and ignored every human suggestion. Now they were desperate for human help, but it was too late. The Galaxy Council called another emergency meeting, but this time it was different. Instead of the proud, confident aliens who had dismissed human concerns, Dan saw desperate leaders who were finally realizing what they had lost. Prime Counselor Zexthera's voice was much quieter than usual when she addressed the assembly. We need to face the truth. We made a terrible mistake. Humans weren't just another member species. They were essential to our civilization, and we drove them away. General Crix was still angry, but now his anger was mixed with fear. We have to find them. We have to make them come back. How? Asked Veltar. We don't know where they went. We can't contact them. And even if we could, why would they listen to us after how we treated them? The room fell silent again. Everyone knew the answer to that question. Dr. Patricia Wells watched the alien communications from her new laboratory in humanity's hidden stronghold. She had spent 15 years studying alien psychology, and she knew exactly how they would react to the crisis. First would come denial. The aliens would refuse to believe that humans had been important. Then would come anger. They would blame humans for being selfish and ungrateful. After that would come bargaining. They would offer deals and rewards to get humans to return. The aliens were right on schedule. They had already gone through denial and anger. Now they were starting to bargain, offering humans everything they had asked for and been denied for 30 years. But Patricia knew it was too late for bargaining. Humans had found something better than anything the Galaxy Council could offer. They had found freedom, respect, and the chance to build their own civilization without interference. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. When you treat essential people badly, they might decide they don't need you anymore. And when that happens, you discover just how much you really needed them. Economic analyst Vera Chen sat in her office at the Galactic Banking Consortium, staring at numbers that made no sense. For 30 years, she had tracked money and trade across the galaxy. She thought she understood how everything worked. But, now with humans gone, she was discovering that she had been completely wrong. Vera had always thought humans were just one more species in the galactic economy. They bought alien technology, sold their products, and paid their taxes like everyone else. But the deeper she dug into the records, the more shocked she became. This can't be right, she whispered to herself, checking the calculations for the 10th time. But the numbers didn't lie. Humans hadn't just been part of the galactic economy. They had been secretly running most of it. Every major trade route used navigation systems that humans had quietly improved. Every shipping company relied on logistics software that humans had written. Every banking transaction went through networks that humans had designed. Vera called her assistant, Mark Thompson, into her office. "Look at these files," she said, pointing to her screen. "Tell me what you see." Mark studied the data for several minutes. His face grew pale as he understood what he was looking at. "These are all human signatures. Every improvement to our trading systems in the past 20 years has human code in it." "It gets worse," Vera said. "Look at the efficiency reports." The efficiency reports told an incredible story. When humans first joined the galactic community, trade between worlds took months and cost enormous amounts of money. But over 30 years, everything had become faster, cheaper, and more reliable. Everyone had assumed this was natural technological progress. Now they knew the truth. Humans had been quietly fixing problems, writing better software, and designing smarter systems. They had taken a clunky, inefficient galactic economy and turned it into something that actually worked. Commander Eric Stone was enjoying the view from his observation post. He was stationed just outside the galaxy's edge, where he could watch the alien military forces without being detected. What he saw made him laugh. The proud Draconian Space Navy was having the worst month in their history. Their newest battleships, which they had bragged about for years, were falling apart. The engines were overheating, the weapon systems were glitching, and the life support was failing on half their fleet. "Sir, we're intercepting more Draconian distress calls," reported his communications officer, Linda Martinez. "That's the 5th ship this week requesting emergency repairs." Eric pulled up the technical specifications for Draconian warships on his screen. On paper, they looked impressive. Massive engines, powerful shields, devastating weapons. But Eric knew something the Draconians had forgotten. "Linda, do you see anything interesting about these ship designs?" Linda studied the files for a moment, then her eyes widened. "Sir, all the critical systems have human modification codes. The power distribution, the targeting computers, the shield harmonics. Humans designed all of this." "That's right. The Draconians thought they were building superior warships, but they were actually using human engineering the whole time. Now that we're gone, they're finding out what their technology was really worth." The same thing was happening to every military force in the galaxy. The Centauri Republic had to ground their entire fighter wing when the flight control systems crashed. The Altarian Defense Force discovered that their orbital weapons platforms couldn't hit anything without human targeting software. Dr. Patricia Wells was having the time of her life. For 15 years, she had been humanity's leading expert on alien psychology and technology. The Galaxy Council had never asked for her opinions, but she had been studying them anyway. Now all that research was paying off. Patricia had files on every major alien species that contained information they didn't even know humans had collected. She knew which alien leaders were corrupt, which governments were planning wars, and which species had secret weaknesses they tried to hide. "Dr. Wells, the analysis of alien technology vulnerabilities is complete," reported her assistant, Chris Johnson. "You're not going to believe some of these results." Patricia opened the report and smiled. It was even better than she had hoped. Every alien species had critical flaws in their technology that humans had discovered but never mentioned. The Draconians' shields had a frequency weakness that could be exploited. The Crystalline Empire's energy systems could be overloaded with the right kind of interference. The Altarians' four-armed advantage meant nothing if you knew how their nervous system worked. But the most valuable information wasn't about technology. It was about politics. Humans had been watching and listening for 30 years. They knew which species really hated each other, which alliances were fake, and which leaders were planning to betray their allies. Chris, send copies of this data to our intelligence teams. Make sure they understand how to use it. Yes, ma'am. Should we also prepare the psychological profiles? Absolutely. The aliens are about to learn that humans are much better at reading people than anyone gave us credit for. The psychological profiles were devastating. Humans had figured out exactly how each alien species thought, what motivated them, and what scared them. They knew that Draconians were actually cowards who only acted tough in groups. They knew that Crystalline Empire leaders were terrified of being seen as weak. They knew that Altarians would do anything to avoid losing money. Captain Alex Turner was monitoring alien communications from his stealth ship when he intercepted something interesting. The Galaxy Council was planning to send search teams to find humanity's new home. They were offering massive rewards and making threats about what would happen if humans didn't return. Alex forwarded the intelligence to his commanders and then settled back to watch the show. The aliens were about to learn another hard lesson about underestimating humans. The first alien search team was a joint operation between the Draconians and the Centauri Republic. They had 20 ships and the best sensors in the galaxy. They were confident they could track down the missing humans within a few weeks. What they found instead was empty space. The humans had covered their tracks perfectly. Every fuel stop, every supply depot, every possible clue had been erased. It was like millions of people and thousands of ships had simply stopped existing. After a month of searching, the alien team had to admit defeat. They had found nothing, not a single trace of where humanity had gone. The second search team tried a different approach. They used economic analysis to figure out where humans might have gone. They looked for systems that would have the resources humans needed, planets that could support human life, and trade routes that humans might use. They found dozens of possibilities, but when they investigated each one, they discovered the same thing. Nothing. No humans, no signs of human activity, no clues about where they might have gone. Intelligence Chief Maya Roberts was proud of her team's work. They had spent years preparing for this day, creating false trails and hiding the real path to humanity's new home. The aliens could search for centuries and never find them. Ma'am, we're getting reports that the aliens are starting to fight among themselves, reported her aide, Tom Wilson. Maya wasn't surprised. Without humans to blame for their problems, the different alien species were turning on each other. The Draconians were accusing the Altarians of helping humans escape. The Crystalline Empire was threatening the Centauri Republic over resource disputes. Old enemies were remembering why they hated each other. How bad is it getting? Maya asked. 3. Border skirmishes this week. The Rigel Federation has closed their space to Draconian ships. The Vegan Collective is demanding reparations from the Altarians for some old trade dispute. Maya smiled. This was exactly what human analysts had predicted would happen. Without humans to serve as a common target, the Galaxy Council was falling apart. The different species had never really liked each other. They had only worked together because they all agreed that humans were inferior. Now that humans were gone, they were discovering that they didn't have much else in common. Dr. Nathan Price was analyzing the latest intelligence reports from inside the galaxy when he made a disturbing discovery. The aliens weren't just struggling with technology and economics. They were starting to realize how much they had depended on human knowledge in ways they had never considered. Dr. Price, you need to see this, said his research assistant, Karen Adams. We've been monitoring alien scientific journals. They're having major problems with research projects that humans used to help with. Nathan looked at the data. It was worse than he had thought. For 30 years, human scientists had been quietly contributing to alien research projects. They had shared ideas, solved problems, and made breakthroughs that the aliens had taken credit for. Now, without human input, alien science was grinding to a halt. Research projects that had been making steady progress for years were suddenly stuck. Problems that humans had been solving behind the scenes were now impossible for the aliens to figure out on their own. The galaxy was discovering that losing humanity meant more than just economic and military problems. It meant losing the species that had been quietly making everything work better for 3 decades. Admiral Grace Sullivan stood on the observation deck of humanity's new capital ship, looking out at the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. New Earth hung in space like a blue and green jewel, surrounded by dozens of other worlds that humans now called home. 6 months had passed since humanity left the galaxy, and those 6 months had been the best in human history. Free from alien interference and politics, human civilization had grown faster than anyone thought possible. New cities were being built every week. New technologies were being invented every day. New colonies were being established on planets that no alien had ever seen. "Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the Galaxy Council," reported her communications officer, Janet Lee. Grace sighed. What are they offering this time? Full voting rights for all human colonies expanded, territorial claims and formal recognition of human technological contributions. Grace almost laughed. 6 months ago, humans would have been thrilled to get any of those things. Now they seemed like jokes. Why would humanity want voting rights in a council that was falling apart? Why would they want territorial claims in a galaxy that couldn't even keep its trade routes working? "Send the standard response," Grace said. "Humanity is not interested in returning to the Galaxy Council under any circumstances." President Helen Carter was in her office on New Earth when the latest intelligence reports came in. The news from the old galaxy was getting worse every week, but Helen felt no sympathy for the aliens who had caused their own problems. The Galaxy Council was in complete chaos. 3 different species had declared war on each other over resource disputes. The Crystalline Empire was demanding that other species pay them for energy that they could no longer produce efficiently. The Draconian military was threatening to invade any world that didn't give them the technical support they needed. "Madam President, Ambassador Turner is requesting permission to address the galaxy," said her chief of staff, Robert Davis. Helen thought about it for a moment. It was time to make humanity's position completely clear. For 6 months, the aliens had been sending desperate messages begging humans to return. They had offered everything from money to territory to formal apologies. But they still didn't understand why humans had left. "Tell Alex he has permission to broadcast on all frequencies. It's time the galaxy heard the truth." Commander Alex Turner sat in his communications center, preparing to deliver the most important speech in human history. Every alien government would hear this message. Every news service would broadcast it. Every intelligent being in the galaxy would know exactly what humanity thought of them. Alex had been chosen for this job because he was good at explaining things simply and clearly. The message he was about to send would not use diplomatic language or polite words. It would be direct, honest, and final. "This is Commander Alex Turner speaking for all of humanity," he began. "For 6 months, the Galaxy Council has been asking us to return. You have offered us voting rights, territory, and recognition. You have apologized for past mistakes and promised to treat us better in the future." Alex paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. "But you still don't understand why we left. You think this was about politics or money or respect? You're wrong. We left because we finally realized that we don't need you." The words were simple, but they hit the galaxy like a bomb. For 30 years, every alien species had believed that humans needed them to survive. They had technology, knowledge, and experience that humans lacked. Without alien help, humans would still be stuck on their home planet. "For 30 years, we tried to be good partners," Alex continued. "We shared our discoveries with you. We improved your technology. We solved your problems. We made your lives easier and more comfortable. And in return, you treated us like children who didn't know anything." Alex pulled up data files that showed exactly what humans had contributed to galactic civilization. The numbers were staggering. Humans had improved alien technology by an average of 40%. They had solved scientific problems that had puzzled alien researchers for centuries. They had prevented wars, negotiated peace agreements, and kept the galactic economy running smoothly. You called us primitive, but we made your primitive technology actually work. You called us inexperienced, but we solved problems you couldn't figure out. You called us worthless, but everything you valued was built on our work. The broadcast was being monitored by intelligence services across the galaxy. Alien leaders were gathering in emergency meetings to discuss what they were hearing. Some were angry, some were afraid, and a few were finally starting to understand what they had lost. Today, humanity lives in freedom, Alex said. We have built new worlds that are more beautiful than anything in your galaxy. We have developed technology that makes your best science look like children's toys. We have created a civilization based on cooperation and respect instead of exploitation and fear. Dr. Amy Collins was watching the broadcast from her new laboratory, which was 10 times larger than anything she had been allowed to build in the old galaxy. Around her, human scientists were working on projects that would have been impossible under alien oversight. They were developing faster engines, stronger materials, and more powerful computers than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The best part was that they didn't have to share their discoveries with ungrateful aliens. Every breakthrough belonged to humanity alone. We are not angry with you, Alex continued in his broadcast. Anger would suggest that we still care what you think. We don't. You have made your choices, and we have made ours. The age of human dependence on alien approval is over. Maya Roberts smiled as she read the intercepted alien communications. The galaxy's response to Alex's speech was exactly what human psychologists had predicted. Some species were furious and making threats. Others were desperate and offering even bigger bribes. A few were finally admitting that they had made terrible mistakes, but it didn't matter anymore. Humanity had moved beyond the reach of alien politics and alien problems. Commander Turner is concluding his message, reported her aide. Susan Parker, Maya, turned her attention back to the broadcast as Alex delivered humanity's final words to the galaxy. Our door remains open, Alex said, but only to individual species who approach us with genuine respect and fair dealing. We will not negotiate with councils or collectives or empires. We will only deal with people who understand that partnership means equality. Alex's next words made it clear that humanity had learned from their mistakes. The Galaxy Council is a relic of the past. It represents everything that is wrong with your civilization. Exploitation, inequality, and the belief that some species are more important than others. Humanity wants no part of that system now or ever. The message ended with a simple but powerful statement that would be remembered for generations. You taught us that we were expendable. Thank you for that lesson. Now you will learn what expendable really means. Welcome to your new reality. Welcome to a galaxy without humanity. As the transmission ended, Alex leaned back in his chair and smiled. For 30 years, humans had begged for respect and received only contempt. Now the tables had turned completely. President Carter was reviewing reports from across human space when she received the final intelligence summary of the day. The Galaxy Council had called another emergency session, but this time only half the species had bothered to attend. The once mighty organization was falling apart as each species focused on their own survival. Meanwhile, humanity was thriving. New colonies were reporting successful harvests. Research stations were making breakthrough discoveries every week. Military forces were testing weapons that could destroy entire alien fleets without breaking a sweat. Madam President, said her aide, we're receiving requests from 3 different alien species asking to establish diplomatic relations with us directly, outside the Council framework. Helen considered this carefully. Perhaps some aliens were finally learning the lessons that humanity had tried to teach them for 3 decades. Schedule meetings with their ambassadors, she decided. But make it clear that we'll only deal with them as equals. No councils, no collectives, no empires speaking for multiple species. Individual governments dealing with individual governments. As Helen looked out her window at the thriving human colony below, she felt proud of what her species had accomplished. They had turned their backs on a galaxy that didn't appreciate them and built something better. They had proven that humans didn't need anyone's permission to be successful. The universe was a big place, and humanity had found their own corner of it. A corner where they could live in peace, dignity, and freedom. The Galaxy Council could keep their broken civilization. Humanity had moved on to something better, and they would never look back.